Hello everyone. Welcome to Nanuya channel. I'm Nino.
And I'm Joy. Today we're diving into a topic that affects millions of people around the world, but is still widely misunderstood: ADHD. What is it really? What are the signs and how does it affect everyday life?
That's right. ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. It's a neurodevelopmental condition that impacts how people focus, regulate their emotions, and manage their impulses. But it looks different for everyone. And it's not just about being hyper or distracted.
Exactly. And ADHD isn't just something that affects kids. While it's often diagnosed in childhood, many people carry it into adulthood, sometimes without even knowing they have it. In fact, it's estimated that nearly 4 to 5% of adults globally have ADHD, and many are undiagnosed.
Let's break it down. ADHD is typically characterized by symptoms in three categories: inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. Some people might have more of one than the other, which is why there are different types of ADHD, like primarily inattentive, primarily hyperactive impulsive, or combined type.
Someone with inattentive ADHD might seem forgetful, get distracted easily, or struggle with organization. They might daydream a lot, lose things often, or have a hard time following through on instructions. They may not appear hyper at all, which can lead to being overlooked.
Meanwhile, someone with hyperactive impulsive ADHD might fidget constantly, interrupt others in conversation, talk excessively, or act without thinking. In children, this might look like running or climbing inappropriately, while in adults, it might appear as restlessness or constant activity.
And the experience of ADHD can be very internal. It's not always about bouncing off the walls. It can be an overwhelming flood of thoughts, difficulty finishing tasks, or being emotionally sensitive. For many, it can lead to frustration, shame, or feeling like they're always behind.
Speaking of personal experiences, I remember one listener, Alex, shared that they always struggled with forgetting deadlines, zoning out during meetings, and feeling like their brain was always on. But it wasn't until their mid-30s that they got diagnosed, and it changed their life. Suddenly, all the puzzle pieces started to make sense.
That's so common. So many adults go through life thinking they're lazy or disorganized when really, their brain just works differently. Once diagnosed, many people feel a huge sense of relief and validation. With the right support, things can get so much better.
Let's also talk about some misconceptions. ADHD is not caused by bad parenting, too much sugar, or playing video games. It's rooted in brain chemistry and structure, especially in areas related to executive function, things like planning, prioritizing, and impulse control.
Right? Brain scans have shown that people with ADHD often have differences in the size and activity levels in certain parts of the brain, particularly the prefrontal cortex, which plays a big role in decision-making and attention.
And another myth? That people with ADHD can't focus. Actually, they can often hyper-focus on things they're really interested in, sometimes for hours. It's the shifting focus or managing tasks that can be tough. Now let's talk about what it really means to thrive with ADHD. Yes, it comes with challenges, but people with ADHD often have incredible strengths too.
Definitely. We're talking about creativity, quick thinking, deep empathy, and the ability to think in non-linear, innovative ways. Many people with ADHD excel in careers that involve problem-solving, spontaneity, and storytelling.
And that's important to highlight, because too often, the conversation focuses only on what's hard or wrong. But with the right support, Those same traits can become assets. For example, someone with ADH might be a fantastic entrepreneur or artist because they're great at seeing connections that others miss.
Totally agree. Let's also talk a bit about how to achieve happiness and fulfillment when living with ADHD. First, it starts with acceptance, realizing that ADHD is part of your wiring and not something you need to fix.
From there, it's about building systems that work with your brain, not against it. That might mean using tools like planners, alarms, visual reminders, or even having accountability partners. Finding what feels right for you is key.
And remember, rest and self-compassion matter too. ADHD can come with executive dysfunction, which makes even simple tasks feel exhausting. So being kind to yourself, allowing space to recharge, and not beating yourself up is huge.
Let's take a moment to hear from another listener. Alex wrote to us about a time when brain fog, which often overlaps with ADHD, had a huge impact on his life. He said, I had a very costly bout of brain fog 4 to 5 years ago. My mom had just died, and I was stressed. I wanted to buy a home, but was staying with my girlfriend temporarily. I saw a house online, sent it to her, and she liked it. But then I panicked. Even though I had a good deposit, I worried about what would happen if my mom's house didn't sell quickly. That fog, that indecision, it paralyzed me. Looking back, I wish I had more clarity, more support.
Thank you, Alex, for sharing that. That kind of brain fog, especially when stress is involved, is so real for people with ADHD. It's not about being careless, it's about how our brain processes overwhelm.
Exactly. That's why emotional regulation is a big part of managing ADHD too. Stress, grief, pressure. These can all intensify symptoms. Learning to manage emotions, ask for help, and create structure is vital.
Let's take a moment to hear from a listener. Sanjana wrote in, For years, I thought I just had poor discipline. I'd start 5 projects at once and never finish one. After my diagnosis at 28, I realized it wasn't a lack of willpower. It was ADHD. I've since learned how to pace myself and build in systems that help me focus.
That's powerful. And it brings us to management strategies. These can include medication, therapy, ADHD coaching, mindfulness, creating structure through routines, and lifestyle changes like regular exercise and balanced nutrition.
One technique I love is the Pomodoro technique. Work for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break. It helps many with ADHD stay on task without getting overwhelmed. Using visuals, timers, or color-coded calendars can also make a big difference.
Some also benefit from working with occupational therapists, cognitive behavioral therapists, or support groups. There's no one size fits all approach. Finding what works for you is a journey.
And support is key. Whether it's from family, friends, employers, or therapists, feeling understood and accommodated can make life with ADHD more manageable and even joyful.
If you think you might have ADHD, the first step is to talk to a qualified mental health professional. Self diagnosis might resonate, but it's not a replacement for a formal assessment.
Also, ADHD often coexists with other conditions like anxiety, depression, dyslexia, or even autism. This is called comorbidity, and it's one reason diagnosis and treatment need to be individualized.
Let's not forget how ADHD presents differently across genders. Girls and women are often underdiagnosed because they tend to internalize symptoms. Instead of acting out, they may struggle silently with anxiety, perfectionism, and burnout.
Absolutely. And there's also the cultural lens. We don't always talk about ADHD the same way across different countries or communities. Some cultures may not even recognize it as a real condition, which makes seeking help even harder.
Good point. And in the workplace, ADHD can be a double-edged sword. While challenges with deadlines and multitasking can exist, people with ADHD can also be incredibly creative, solution-oriented, and resilient when in the right environment.
Some successful entrepreneurs, artists, and innovators credit ADHD for their ability to think outside the box and take risks others wouldn't. That's something worth celebrating.
The good news is, awareness is growing. There's more research, better tools, and a stronger community than ever before. ADHD is not a sentence, it's a different path.
Some of the most brilliant creative minds in history likely had ADHD. It's about learning how to navigate the world with your unique brain and embracing what makes you different.
Thanks for tuning in today. We hope this episode helped you understand ADHD a little more clearly.
And if you know someone who might benefit from this conversation, share this episode with them. Let's break the stigma together.
Until next time, take care of your mind and your heart.